Hi everyone, my name is Susmita and I'm here to talk to you about dairy alternatives today. For curds, most of these milks can be turned into curds, but not all of them will be thick and creamy like the curds you might be used to. So with each milk, the texture, the taste, the quality of the curds will differ. Now, my preferred ingredient to make curds out of is peanuts. Peanuts are fantastic. They are fatty legumes, right? So because of that, a little goes a long way. So if you just use 1 cup of peanuts, you can put about 6 cups of water. So approximately 100 grams peanuts, you get like a liter or more of milk and curds out of it. So that's quite a bit of yield you're getting out of a very small quantity of nuts. And then it sets into a very creamy, thick, nice, delicious nut. That's the beauty of peanuts. Now if you make almond milk, if you make rice milk, these are things which when you try to make curds out of them, when you try to ferment them, they're going to be very light, they're going to be liquidy like buttermilk. The texture is going to be more like buttermilk. And if you make milk out of cashews will be creamy. It will not set, whereas peanut curds will set like an island and there's like water all around and the thick creamy curds in the middle. But cashew will be very, very creamy. The milk will be extremely creamy. And because it has a natural sweetness, the bacteria just love it. The cultures, the cashew, the probiotic cultures. So they just love it and they eat up the sugar. So the curd turns out more sour. So cashew is great for curdling. Another thing you can do is make combination milks and curds. So you can combine, say, almonds with rice to make milk, and you can combine cashew, rice and peanuts to make curds. Just for some examples, even coconut milk works very well for curds as well as for milk and coffee and everything. So by combining these different milks, what happens is that you are able to play with the textures and tastes of the milk and curds, and also you are able to play with the control the costing. So almonds, for example, are quite expensive, right? But almond milk is very nutritious. You need to soak the almonds and wash them and then make the milk out of them. It's very, very nutritious for you. So to balance out the cost, what you do is you combine almonds with rice and then you make the milk. So for rice, you have to use cooked rice. It shouldn't be white rice. It should be any unpolished like brown, red and stuff. So cooked rice plus almonds, and then you blend them together and then you strain. You get a delicious milk that is very smooth and rich and tasty and nutritious, of course, and cooling to the body because of the rice, because of the starches. And it's very cost effective because rice barely costs anything, so it brings down the overall cost of the milk compared to the almonds and the rice. So in this way, you can play with combinations. Another combination milk that I like to make is cashew and sesame milk. So sesame seeds are super, super rich in calcium. So of course, we all need calcium and it's good for us, and this is an easy way to get it, right? But sesame seeds are bitter in taste. They have a very strong flavor. So it's not everybody's. So you can make plain sesame milk also, and it is tasty, but it is not for everybody. Everybody is not going to enjoy the taste of sesame milk. But when you add the sesame to the cashews, the cashew taste is also very overpowering and it's also sweet. So the sweetness of the cashew balances out the bitterness of the sesame, and then you get this really nutritious and tasty milk. So play with different grains, play with different nuts and seeds, and try out and see which one works well for you, which milk works well for you. And then of course you can set most of them into curds. Now talking about curds, a question that a lot of people have is about starters. So what is a starter? Starter is a starter culture. That is, when you're used to making animal milk curds, you take a little bit of curds and then you add that to the milk. In Kannada we say hep hakodu. So you put that into the warm milk, and then the next day it's going to turn into curds, right? So you're introducing the cultures from the curds into the milk so that they can again, just eat up all the sugars and proteins and digest all that, and then their population will increase, and then it turns into curds. But when it comes to vegan milks and vegan curds, what you need to do is, of course, you don't want to be using animal milk curds to make vegan curds, right? To make plant-based curds. You don't want to do the cross-contamination, and in many cases it doesn't work well either. So luckily, there are so many natural ways to use ingredients that are right at home with you and then create the culture, create the starter culture. One very popular method, which it wasn't invented by vegans, it's just something that people just, I guess, in colder places they introduced it. And what they did was, you would take a bowl of your vegan milk and then take crowns of 8 to 10 chilies and introduce that. So that becomes a nice, delicious, it's a starter. And then there's another starter, which is you take Urad Dal and you take a spoonful of it, you soak it overnight, and then once it's soaked overnight, what happens is, if you make idli at home, you'll know this, you would be not normally soaking Urad Dal for it anyway. It becomes kind of fermented, sour, slightly gooey. So that's because it already has the cultures in it. It has developed cultures. So you take a spoonful of just that water, 1 or 2 spoons, and then you put that into a bowl of warm vegan milk and set that, and that also becomes curds. So these are just 2 options, but there are many different starter cultures that you can use. You can look it up online, and there are many things that you can do, but these 2 are really good. But none of these starter cultures are strong. They are kind of weak cultures, comparatively weak cultures. So always remember that the first time that you make curds using these cultures, the curd is not going to be very curd-like, in the sense of it will ferment, it will set, but it's not going to be as sour smelling or as sour tasting as curds. But that's okay. First time it doesn't work out, don't worry about it. It's still good to have. What you do is, every single time you make curds, save some curds and use that as a starter for the next batch. Always remember to save curds and use it as a starter for the next batch and the next batch and next batch. And with every generation, what happens is the taste totally improves. It becomes absolutely delicious. So these are just a couple of tricks for you to try out with the curds.